The Gorman dogfight, first military pursuit of a UAP in 1948, a National Guard pilot chases an impossible light over North Dakota in the first documented military aerial pursuit of an unidentified object. Lieutenant George F. Gorman touches down at Hector Airport in Fargo, North Dakota, on the evening of October 1, 1948, completing a routine cross-country flight. The North Dakota Air National Guard pilot secures his P-51 Mustang and prepares to conclude his duties for the night. Then he sees it, a light moving across the darkened sky at a speed that immediately strikes him as anomalous. The object travels with purpose, its trajectory deliberate and controlled. Gorman makes a decision that transforms him into the central figure of the first documented military aerial pursuit of an unidentified aerial phenomenon in American history. He returns to his aircraft, restarts the engine, and takes off in pursuit. The P-51 Mustang beneath him represents the pinnacle of Second World War fighter technology, a proven combat aircraft capable of speeds exceeding 400 miles per hour and altitudes above 40,000 feet. Gorman himself brings credentials that lend weight to everything that follows. He serves as an experienced combat pilot and flight instructor, a man trained to identify aircraft under the most demanding conditions. What he observes over the next 27 minutes defies every parameter of conventional flight. The object appears as a small, blinking white light, approximately 8 inches in diameter. It possesses no discernible physical structure, no wings, no fuselage, no visible means of propulsion. The light itself constitutes the entirety of what Gorman perceives as he maneuvers his fighter into an intercept course. The object responds. This response marks the beginning of an engagement that separates the Gorman dogfight from mere sightings or misidentifications. The light does not simply move through the sky on a predetermined path. It reacts to Gorman's presence with movements that suggest awareness. When Gorman turns toward the object, it turns toward him. The symmetry of the movement suggests tracking, as though the object monitors his position and adjusts accordingly. He attempts a diving approach, and the object descends to meet him, matching his angle and rate of descent with precision that exceeds the capabilities of any known aircraft of the period. The engagement escalates. Gorman pushes his P-51 through maneuvers that test both the aircraft's structural limits and his own physical endurance. The object outmaneuvers him repeatedly, executing turns so tight that Gorman cannot follow without experiencing blackout conditions from gravitational forces. At one point during the 27-minute pursuit, the object appears to deliberately approach Gorman's aircraft in a head-on configuration. Two machines, one a proven fighter aircraft piloted by a trained military aviator, the other an unidentified light with no visible structure, hurtle toward each other through the night sky over Fargo. Gorman holds his course. He maintains his heading as the distance closes, testing the object's commitment to its trajectory. At the last possible moment, the object pulls up sharply and passes directly over his canopy. Gorman attempts to follow the vertical maneuver, but the object climbs beyond the P-51's operational ceiling, ascending in a trajectory that his aircraft cannot match. Below, in the Hector Airport Control Tower, Air Traffic Controller L.D. Jensen observes the engagement. He watches both the P-51 and the unidentified light as they maneuver across the night sky. CAA employee H.E. Johnson stands beside him, providing independent corroboration of the visual contact. Both men track the objects, Gorman's aircraft identifiable by its known characteristics, the unidentified light by its anomalous behavior and appearance. The tower witnesses observe portions of the engagement, their accounts establishing that what Gorman experiences in the air possesses objective reality visible from the ground. The radar equipment available at Hector Airport in 1948 represents early post-war technology, limited in capability compared to later systems. Controllers report partial radar confirmation of the engagement, tracking elements of the pursuit though not continuously throughout its 27-minute duration. The combination of visual confirmation from multiple witnesses and partial radar tracking elevates the Gorman dogfight beyond the category of unverifiable pilot testimony. This case possesses documentation, corroboration, and institutional acknowledgement from its earliest moments. Throughout the engagement, Gorman observes the object's consistent pattern of responsive maneuvering. The light does not behave as a balloon drifting on air currents, nor does it move with the predictable trajectory of a meteor or other natural phenomenon. It makes deliberate course changes that appear specifically designed to avoid interception while simultaneously engaging with Gorman's pursuit. When he approaches from one angle, it adjusts position. When he attempts to gain altitude advantage, it climbs beyond his reach. The object demonstrates either automated response to tracking inputs or piloted behavior, either possibility representing technology that exceeds known American or Soviet capabilities in 1948. The sustained duration of the encounter distinguishes it from conventional explanations. 27 minutes represents an extraordinary length of time for aerial engagement with an unidentified object. Meteors traverse the visible sky in seconds, whether balloons drift on predictable paths determined by wind patterns. Conventional aircraft of the period lacked the performance characteristics to execute the maneuvers Gorman documents. The object's ability to maintain engagement for nearly half an hour, while consistently outperforming a P-51 Mustang piloted by an experienced aviator, creates a profile that fits no known category. After 27 minutes of pursuit, the object terminates the engagement. It executes a vertical climb that takes it beyond the P-51's operational ceiling and disappears from Gorman's view. He returns to Hector Airport and lands, then immediately files a detailed report of the encounter. His account includes specific descriptions of the object's appearance, its pattern of maneuvers, the duration of engagement, and his assessment of its flight characteristics. The report enters military channels and reaches Project Sign, the United States Air Force's first official program dedicated to investigating unidentified aerial phenomena. Project Sign investigators arrive in Fargo within weeks of the incident. The program's director, Colonel Howard McCoy, oversees an investigation that takes Gorman's account seriously from the outset. The investigators recognize several factors that elevate this case above typical UFO reports of the period. Gorman's military qualifications establish him as a trained observer capable of accurate aircraft identification. The corroborating testimony from tower witnesses Jensen and Johnson confirms the objective reality of the observed phenomenon. The sustained duration and specific characteristics of the engagement provide detailed data for analysis. The investigation produces three possible explanations: a lighted weather balloon, a meteor, and an unidentified phenomenon. Investigators assess each possibility against the documented facts of the encounter. The weather balloon hypothesis fails to account for the object's ability to make deliberate course changes and to sustain engagement for 27 minutes while outmaneuvering a high-performance fighter aircraft. Weather balloons drift on air currents. They do not respond to pursuit or execute tactical maneuvers. The meteor explanation similarly collapses under scrutiny. Meteors follow ballistic trajectories determined by gravity and atmospheric friction. They do not make course corrections, respond to approaching aircraft, or sustain visibility for 27 minutes while maneuvering at low altitude. The third category, unidentified phenomenon, becomes the conclusion that Project Sign applies to the Gorman dogfight. This classification acknowledges that the documented facts of the case do not fit conventional explanations. The object Gorman pursues demonstrates flight characteristics that exceed known technology of the period and behavior patterns that suggest awareness and responsiveness. Project Sign's classified assessment of the case becomes part of the program's overall early conclusion that some unidentified aerial phenomena might represent extraterrestrial technology. a conclusion that contributes to tensions within the Air Force and eventually leads to Sign's transition to Project Grudge in 1949. The Gorman dogfight establishes precedent. It represents the first documented instance of a military pilot engaging an unidentified aerial object in sustained pursuit. Later cases follow: the Coin helicopter encounter in 1973, the Nimitz carrier group engagement in 2004. But Gorman's experience over Fargo in 1948 serves as the foundational case that demonstrates the phenomenon's interaction with military aviation. The case possesses the institutional grounding that many early UAP reports lack. It was investigated by official Air Force personnel, documented in classified files, corroborated by multiple witnesses, and assessed by investigators who took the phenomenon seriously enough to classify it as unexplained. Researchers analyzing the history of military UAP encounters consistently reference the Gorman dogfight as the template for what they term intelligent interaction between unidentified objects and military aircraft. The object's apparent tactical awareness, its responsive maneuvering, and its ability to maintain engagement while consistently outperforming a conventional fighter aircraft establish characteristics that recur in later documented cases. The pattern Gorman experiences over Fargo in 1948, pursuit followed by evasion, approach followed by countermaneuver, sustained engagement demonstrating technological superiority, becomes a recognized profile in UAP research. The case survives in the historical record because of its documentation and institutional acknowledgement. Project Sign's investigation, the corroborating witness testimony, and Gorman's detailed report create a foundation of verifiable fact that persists beyond the dismissals and debunking efforts that characterize later Air Force approaches to the UAP phenomenon. The Gorman dogfight cannot be easily explained away because too many elements of the case rest on documented observation by trained personnel using both visual and technological tracking methods. Lieutenant George F. Gorman's 27-minute pursuit of an unidentified light over Fargo, North Dakota, on October 1, 1948, opens a chapter in military aviation history that remains unresolved 75 years later. The object he chases through the night sky demonstrates capabilities that still exceed conventional explanation. The engagement he documents establishes that the phenomenon possesses not only advanced technology but apparent awareness, the ability to detect pursuit and respond with tactical countermeasures. In the archives of Project Sign and in the subsequent decades of military UAP documentation, the Gorman dogfight stands as the first case, the foundational encounter that proves the phenomenon engages with those who pursue it. If you found this case compelling, subscribe to Vanishing Roads for more documented paranormal investigations from around the world. This story was created with AI assistance based on documented case files. All events reference real investigations and reported incidents.